My name is Dr. Michelle Carr, and I'm the current Discipline Head of Accounting within the business school. And in that role, I suppose my job here today is just for a couple of minutes to kind of position the discipline within the business school here, established in UCC in 2015. So it's a relatively newly established business school that brought all the different departments and all the different degrees in business under one umbrella. Since 2015, lots has been achieved within our business school that we're very proud of. The accounting discipline falls into that business school as one of 7 disciplines and one of 4 or 5 departments. So if you're looking at our business school and looking at our degrees, you will see degrees in economics, degrees in business information systems, management and marketing, and in accounting and finance and food business. Our faculty in accounting feature in all of those programs and all of those disciplines, but the accounting degree falls within the accounting and finance department along with the finance degree. So the BSc Accounting and the BSc Finance are located within the Department of Accounting and Finance within the business school. But you will see our faculty and our staff and ourselves teaching on the program, on all of the other degree programs where accounting features. Okay, but the accounting degree is located within the accounting and finance department along with the finance degree. Lots has been achieved in recent years and more ambition is planned, and they generally very broadly focus around the ideas of accreditation and getting our business school and our undergraduate degrees accredited, increased internationalization in terms of getting more international students onto our undergraduate degrees to increase profile and student experience, and also around external engagement. And that's why we have PwC, Deloitte, KPMG all involved here today, and PwC sponsoring the event in order to ensure that we are at all times engaged with industry and practice in order to keep ourselves informed. Okay, in terms of the outline of today's session, it's excellent. Okay, from Peter to the guest speakers to Aileen, they will give you much better insights into the BSc Accounting degree than I can. They will talk about the characteristics, the benefits, the job opportunities, the relationships they foster, the friends they made, the crack they had, much better than I can. All I can do is really say that one of the main things for me when I reflect on the degree is the caliber of the faculty that teach on the degree. You all know that having good teachers that are dedicated and professional is really important. And every time we meet alumni and graduates, they do always commend all of the lecturers that teach on to the BSc Finance and the BSc Accounting degree, and also the excellent professional and career service, where they're lucky to have such dedicated people, and they are, without a doubt, the unique selling factor of this degree.
So basically, I want to give you an overview as to what the BSc Accounting is all about. So look, you know, if you were to ask your parents or aunts and uncles, perhaps they would have a stereotypical view as to what accountants do and what type of people they would be. So historically, accountants have been regarded as very boring people. You know, they don't get out too often, not too many friends. All they do is add up on their calculators all day long. And obviously, numbers is an important part of accounting, but it's no way, it's not the main part of what accountants do. Accounting is now a very strategic part of a business, and accountants are very much business partners. And as hopefully what you'll find from today is that, excuse me, but if you were to study with us for the BSc Accounting, you'll find there's a range of diverse career opportunities available to you, probably plenty more than you maybe would have anticipated. So as we go through the day, and we hope that you'll discover that. And with the advances in technology and digitalization and data analytics, that's only going to get more pronounced as time goes on. So look, firstly, well, what is accounting? So look, accounting means different things to different people, but essentially accounting is a language. It's the language of business. So if you were to listen to the business news on the telly or the radio or on the internet or pick up a newspaper, any article about a firm that's talking about their performance is basically referring to the language of accounting. So if a firm is performing well or not, it's essentially accounting terminology that's been used. So is it profits or losses or cash flows or earnings per share? It's a language that helps us to determine if a business is performing well or not. So I suppose the thing about accounting is that if you don't understand the language, then it will be very hard to understand business. So it's the building blocks to have a career in business. So in terms of what accountants actually do, accountants do a lot of things. So I'm only going to touch the surface here, and I'm sure our presenters, the alumni, will give a far more detailed insights there in a minute. But an accountant should help a company to arrange a startup. So if I had a business and I was thinking of getting it up and running, I could talk to my accountant and they should be able to tell me, is my business feasible? So by that, what I mean is that, look, is there likely to be a demand for the product? Who are the main competitors? What price should I charge my product at? Is it feasible for me to do so? If I'm in the service industry, will I be able to get enough staff? If I'm a production company, will I be able to get enough raw materials and at the price I want? Accountants will help with a range of decisions. So accounting is a lot of the time about decision making. Even before COVID, we would have had, excuse me, a shortage of office space. So accountants should be able to tell you, look, in Dublin or Cork, is there enough office space to get your business up and running? And how much should we be prepared to pay? Once a business is up and running, your accountant should be able to help you with keeping records. So, is the business performing well? Is it performing as expected? As the business grows, your accountant should be able to help you with growth. So again, if you're if you're either a manufacturing company or a service company, and you're trying to, your accountant will be able to help you with the decisions that accompany that. So for example, if it's a new product, so if I'm working for a company making a particular lawnmower or whatever type of product it is, and I have a new idea, should I make the product myself? Should I buy it in? What are the best range of options available to me? So it's decisions like that. It's not just purely the numbers, it's a range of the non-financial elements as well. Similarly, as well, in terms of new products or services, what markets should we aim for? Should we sell retail, wholesale? Where's the best place, excuse me, to sell our products? And ultimately, most businesses are set up to make a profit. So the accountant, again, should help the company to determine, did they make a profit or a loss? The great thing about accounting is that accountants are needed in good times and bad. Now, unfortunately, some businesses will fail. It's just it's a fact of life. But if they do, the accountants have a key role to play here as well. So if a business fails, accountants will pay off staff, pay off creditors, do all the necessary paperwork required, and ultimately wind up the business. So even though we're in the middle of a pandemic, there's still a huge demand for accountants. And even in good times and bad times, even if we're in a recession, there's always a need for accountants. So it's not that it's immune to economic cycles, but the accounting profession is one that weathers economic cycles really, really well. So if you were to study accounting, excuse me, and ultimately get a degree in accounting, it's one that should stand you in good stead. Okay, in terms of our degree, well, what exactly do we offer? So that's just a very quick overview as to some of the roles that accountants perform. So our objective is to produce accountants with broad business skills. So even though it's a BSc Accounting degree, as part of it, you'll study a range of business subjects. You'll study management, marketing, IT, law, economics, because we acknowledge and we accept that, look, as an accountant, if you're working for a company, you'll be working across different functions. You'll be working with marketing, IT, logistics, a range of different functions. You need broad business skills. Accounting doesn't exist in a vacuum. It basically helps these business areas to make good decisions to help the business to develop. So you do need broad business skills. So even though it's an accounting degree, as I say, you will study a range of business subjects. Accounting, a lot of the time, is about making decisions and helping the business to make good decisions that will help to drive the business forward. So every day companies have decisions to make about, raising capital or, buying new businesses or, just launching new products or retiring certain products or whatever the case may be. And the accountant should be able to help the business to make those decisions. And as we're seeing with the digital age, there's more and more information produced. So as an accountant, you need to be able to shift through that information and figure out what's important and what's not, And obviously things like data analytics are becoming increasingly important. So as part of our program, you will study elements of data analytics and help you, to answer the questions that companies want answered. I suppose the third main theme, or the third main area we want our graduates to have skills in, is to have an ethical framework. And you might think that's an unusual one, but if you think about it, as an accountant, you're dealing with someone else's money, okay? So if you're dealing with someone else's money, with that comes a big responsibility. So we want you to have an ethical framework in terms of dealing with people's money, because unfortunately, there will be instances where people may not be as ethical as you. And we want to give you the framework that will allow you to spot instances where people are not maybe doing what they should be doing, and to have the tools to know what to do. Because look, if people don't act ethically and they're dealing with other people's money, obviously that can have an impact on the company itself. Companies pay taxes. That can have an impact on government spending. It will obviously have an impact on employees and their families and society as a whole. So it's very important that people act ethically when they're dealing with other people's money. And for all accountants, in terms of being a professional accountant, that would be excuse me, that would be a key objective. Okay, so in terms of the structure of our degree, so what we offer is, a 4-year business program. So that would be similar to other business degrees that are offered by the Cork University Business School. So each year, students will study modules to the tune of 60 credits. And 60 credits basically equates to roughly, we'll say, about 20 contact hours. So when I say contact hours, assuming you're back on campus, that means lecture hours or tutorial hours. So 60 credits would be the norm. That's what every year would study UCC. As part of the BSc Accounting, you would study core modules. So a module is basically a subject. It might be financial accounting, auditing, tax, economics, whatever the case may be. So there are certain modules that are core. In other words, you have to study them. And then there are other modules that are optional. So you have a choice. You have a couple of choices, and you can pick whichever you prefer. A big advantage of our program is that in year 3, we offer a 6-month paid work placement. And we'll talk about that later on, and Aileen will talk about it in depth as well. And what we'll find, or what we have found, is that students who go on placement in 3rd year, generally speaking, they all do really, really well, and employers are really impressed with them. And to such an extent that a lot of them are actually offered full-time jobs after they finish their degree. So we would have a lot of students coming back after placement at the end of year 3, going into year 4, and they would already have a job offer for when they finish their degree. So it's a great thing to have before you even finish your degree. And in terms of the optional credits, just to make you aware that, look, in year 4, which would be your final year, so you do 60 credits in total, students can pick 35 credits themselves. So you have a list of subjects basically to pick from. So be it law, economics, management, marketing, maybe more accounting and finance. But if you feel like in your first 3 years, perhaps I'd like to study a bit more finance or a bit more IT, then you can make that choice. And in year 4, you can pick whatever subjects you think best suit your particular abilities. So there's a good bit of choice there. And I suppose in essence, in year 4, you're tailoring your degree, to what suits you best. And other programs might not be able to offer that. So that's something that's very distinctive about the BSc Accounting. So in terms of the content, as I mentioned, yes, it's a BSc Accounting degree, but as well as getting, the fundamentals of accounting, financial accounting, management accounting, finance, auditing, taxation, etc., you'll also study a range of other business-related subjects: management, marketing, IT, law, etc. And as I mentioned earlier, that's because you will be working in a business. In a business, you will have to deal with all these areas, so you need to understand how they operate, because increasingly the accountant will be dealing with these areas more and more, or they have been and they will be in the future. So you need to have a background in these areas, and as part of our degree, you will get more than enough in any of those areas, even if it's an area you'd like to specialize in going forward. Okay, so bringing us on to the work placement. So the work placement, it's a 6 months paid placement, and it takes takes place in year 3 of the degree. So from January to June. So basically now our third year students are going on placement. So in third year, you're only in college for 1 semester. So from September to December, and then you're off on placement from January to June. And we see you again at the start of year 4 at that September. We have a dedicated UCC placement officer. So Aileen Waterman is our placement officer, and she'll talk there after the alumni have spoken. So basically, Aileen coordinates with the students, and we actually, even though placement begins in third year, we start the preparation in second year. So in second year with Aileen and others, you'll be doing CV preparation, you'll be doing mock interviews, you'll be doing classes on workplace etiquette. So basically we want to get you ready so when you do start your placement, you can hit the ground running. Okay, and that's what we find from the feedback from employers. Our students are really prepared for placement. They go in, and within a couple of weeks of getting some training, they're actually adding value to the company, which is what we want. We're really lucky in that because our program has been in existence for over 20 years, we have a range of top quality firms who come back to us year after year and have placement opportunities available. So those firms are in professional services, so Big 4 accounting firms, some medium, smaller accounting firms, and a range of firms in industry as well. So they come back year after year based upon the quality of our students. And just to say as well on that point, I'm sure Aileen might touch on it later. In terms of the placement, essentially, we don't force you to do any job you don't want to. As the jobs come in from the companies, students will apply to the ones that interest them. The companies then will look at your CVs and they'll decide who they interview, and then the companies will offer jobs as appropriate. So we don't offer the jobs, we basically facilitate the companies to come in, and the companies will offer the jobs. But if you're enthusiastic and you show you've done a bit of research, then very often students get offered something pretty quickly within the placement process. Another distinguishing factor of our program is that while you're on placement, you're not left to your own devices. We regard it as an academic module. So you will be supervised by 2 people. You'll have an academic mentor like me or like Michelle who spoke earlier, or Sandra, or one of the other academics in the department. So we will actually stay in touch with you, and there's certain deliverables you'll need for us. And we'll also visit you either virtually or in person as the times dictate, to make sure everything is going well. And you'll also have a business mentor in the firm, and that's someone that we can liaise with if there's any issue or just to touch base and make sure that everything is going well. So we're very much there with you. We're in contact with you every week or 2 just to make sure everything is going well. And if there's any issues, you can come back and we can do our best to try and remedy them. So in terms of student support, in addition to your lectures, you'll also have tutorials, which are basically smaller groups, maybe groups of 20, 25 students. And a tutor, which would generally be a postgraduate student, would go through some questions and answers. With any queries, you can talk to them and they can talk to the lecturer, they can answer them directly. It's not just all about end of semester exams, there's a good bit of continuous assessment. So as every semester unfolds, you'll be doing small little tests and projects and essays. And obviously you'll get the results of those before your final exams to see how you're getting on, and you can make whatever adjustments are needed. We also have a class rep system. So each class, so again, there's 4 years of the BSc Accounting. Each class has a class rep. We meet the reps twice a year just to make sure everything is going according to plan. And obviously, as a student on our programs, you can contact us directly, but we do formally meet the reps just to make sure everything is okay. But it's not all about study, okay? So there's also an Accounting and Finance Society that's run by the students and for the students. So they organize business events, class parties, there's the annual Accounting and Finance Ball. Now, obviously things are a bit curtailed in the current times, but look, we're hoping within the next 6 months or so that we'll get back to some sort of normality, and all these things will continue as per normal. So it's not just all work, you need to have a bit of downtime as well, and the Accounting and Finance Society, that's one society that certainly offers some respite from all the work. Okay, in terms of the entry requirements, so look, last year, the points, they increased last year, they went up to 509. So it's basically a function of supply and demand. We don't set the points, it's based upon the students that apply and the points that they have. Now, what it'll be for the coming academic year, obviously nobody knows. whether there's a written leaving cert or not may have an impact, but again, it's based on supply and demand and the points that people have. So the entry requirements, essentially it's the general entry requirements for university. So you need to have basically completed Irish, English, Maths, in addition to another language and 2 other subjects. You can obviously take your points from 6 subjects. So as long as you meet that requirement and you have the points, then you would be eligible for the BSc Accounting. And an important point to note is that you do not need to have studied accounting or higher level maths at Leaving Cert to qualify for the BSc Accounting. And I know from doing presentations over the years, a lot of people have said, look, I have an interest in accounting, I'm not studying it. Would I be at a significant disadvantage? The answer is no. Quite clearly, someone who has studied accounting will know a certain amount coming in, but we do start from the beginning. Day one, we start off what's an asset, what's a liability, and essentially by about Christmas, so by the end of the first semester, everyone is basically nearly at the same level. So we go pretty quickly, but we do start from the beginning. And I think we have found over the years that very often students who perform really well are often those who didn't study accounting for Leaving Cert. No, not always, but so basically, I suppose the point is it shouldn't be an impediment. Okay, if you haven't studied accounting but you have an interest, absolutely, consider our degree. There's no, it won't hold you back. In terms of the benefits, we have a small intake every year, roughly between 70 and 80 students. So look, that gives you an opportunity, to form networks with other people in your class and to get to know the other people in your class. Our completion rates are really high every year, pretty much nearly 100%. Now you get the odd exception for whatever reason or for personal reasons. Someone mightn't complete or they might do it the year after. One of the main benefits of doing the BSc Accounting is that the exemptions from professional accounting bodies. So there is no degree in Ireland, undergraduate degree, that will give you more exemptions from the professional accounting bodies. Now I'll talk about it in a minute about what that actually means, but exemptions is a big thing and you'll get the maximum amount possible from our degree. As well as that, if you decided after 4 years you'd like to go on and do a bit more study, it's a stepping stone. So from having the 4-year BSc Accounting, you could do a master's in accounting, or you could go on to do a master's in another area like IT or management or marketing, depending on what their entry requirements are. There's a huge range of career opportunities for accountants, and the employment prospects are excellent. And in fact, there was a report commissioned there in the last year or two, and in Ireland, and one of the areas highlighted was a lack of qualified accountants in Ireland. So look, the employment prospects have been and continue to be excellent for accountants. So look, just to put it in context, and I'll finish there in the next minute or two. If you were to do the undergrad BSc Accounting CK202 with us, you'll spend 4 years studying accounting. At the end of that, you're not a qualified accountant, but you do have a degree in accounting. From that, you'll get certain exemptions from professional accounting bodies. And what most people do, and I think our alumni will talk about it there in a minute, what most people do is they join a professional firm. So they sign a contract for 3.5 years. And while they're working for the firm, they'll complete their professional accounting exams. So professional accounting exams, chartered accounting, CIMA, ACCA, there's a range of qualifications out there. So you do 4 years with us, then you would get a certain amount of exemptions, then you do your professional accounting qualification. You do your 3.5 years of work and study at the same time. At that point, you'll be a professionally qualified accountant. And basically, the world is your oyster in terms of career options. So you're talking 4 years with us and potentially 3.5 years. So it's probably 7-8 years in total. You might think that's a lot, but if you think of engineers, solicitors, doctors, any of the professions, it would be a similar time scale, if not longer, to become a fully qualified professional in that field. So look, in terms of the opportunities, they're varied, they're multiple. So just flicking down through a few of them: advisory, risk, consultancy, forensic accounting, data analytics, audit and assurance is always a big one, tax. You could work in other industries as well. And the great thing about the BSc Accounting and about accounting qualifications is that they're internationally recognized. So our degree is recognized internationally. And if you were to become a chartered accountant or a CIMA accountant or ACCA, they're all recognized internationally. So there's great opportunities for travel. Okay. So look, for me to recap at this point. So look, if you're looking for a degree that offers you a broad business knowledge, yes, you'll study, probably more accounting than other degrees, but you'll also do the business subjects as well. So it's both, it's accounting and business. You'll get the maximum possible exemptions to become an accountant from any undergrad program. In terms of the skills, well, you're basically accumulating skills to be a future chief executive. So if you were to look at, for instance, the FTSE 100 in the UK, look at all the 100 companies, I would say at least half are qualified accountants, because you need the language of business. You need accounting to progress through, or primarily to progress through the ranks within a company. A choice of work location, work at home, work abroad. It's a job that delivers in good times and bad. There's always a need for accountants, and the current environment is no different. Huge array of flexible opportunities, and it's a qualification that is recognized internationally. So if you're interested in some or all of those, then definitely the degree to consider is BSc Accounting CK202.
Whenever I get asked within PwC to do today's session, I always feel privileged. I really enjoyed my time in UCC studying accounting. Just to tell you a little about myself, my name's Stephen Dynan. I'm currently an employee within the PwC Cork office. I'm an audit senior associate, and I studied the BSc Accounting degree, as I mentioned already, and was a graduate in 2016. So I'll just give you a bit of background about my timeline there. In 2012. So I would have done my leaving cert in the summer of 2012, and then consciously would have had kind of a few decisions to make in the coming weeks with your CAO. So I wasn't fully sure on my career path at the time, but I went on to study accounting from 2012 to 2016 in UCC. Then I suppose coming out of that program within UCC, as Peter mentioned already, the third year work placement, I got an offer after having done that placement within PwC during my time in the college. I got offered a graduate contract and studied there from 2016 to 2020. I was luckily just coming out of the third year placement program. I was lucky enough to get an offer with PwC for a contract of 3.5 years in the audit department. So I'm currently still there today. So I'm now currently on a permanent contract, having moved on from the graduate program, still within PwC. So why did I choose my accounting as my undergraduate degree? As kind of Peter was mentioning there, I suppose the accounting degree offered a huge variety of subjects, be it in tax, law, marketing, economics. I wasn't fully sure of my career path. I had studied, I did study accounting in school, and I had studied business as well, but I wasn't 100% sure of where that would translate me to in the business world. So I thought accounting would give me a really good foothold within that. So I know it's kind of very well respected amongst employers. The third year work placement, as I mentioned, was very attractive. And you'll be provided with all the support within UCC through that process. I remember sitting down with Aileen going through my CV at the time when applying for positions. So all the UCC staff and Aileen helped me get to where I am today. So I was very appreciative of that at the time. So as mentioned already, 90% of Irish CEOs are chartered accountants. So I think the accounting undergraduate degree opens up a wide variety of choices, and kind of Peter would have spoken about the professional exemptions as your next kind of stepping stone after your graduate program, after your undergraduate degree, you know, in terms of going down the studies of chartered accounting or chartered tax consultant or a CFA, chartered financial analyst. It provides a really good grounding in those areas and will allow you with choices at the end of your degree. Along the subjects within the course. So like there was the introduction to accounting, and you can see there's an introduction to marketing and BIS in year 1, and then kind of moving into, you know, the commercial law and business law side of things in year 2, along with that of economics, marketing, and business systems analysis and design. I should have mentioned there as well, I'm currently a digital accelerator within PwC, a program launched at the end of 2019. So through that, we try and tackle and provide digital solutions and help automated processes that can be tedious. And I suppose the accounting degree helped me with a footstone into that role as well, through its core subjects within the degree itself. So then in third year, you know, one that particularly stands out for me from a business point of view was the cases in corporate finance and the introduction to audit. That's just personally for me, because I'm working in an audit department, and the cases in corporate finance I found was a good foothold in terms of getting used to presenting in front of an audience and how that translates. I found it gave me great confidence in presenting and being able to talk in front of people. Similarly, there's the management accounting subjects, which, should you go along the line of kind of a SEMA type profession, possibly after the accounting degree, it will give you exemptions in that way. And then fourth year, I suppose you're kind of coming into your advanced management accounting, your business finance, and your advanced financial reporting, and your tax, your corporation tax and capital gains tax subjects. Personally, from my point of view, I kind of knew, I suppose, by the end of third year, having done my placement, that I wanted to go on and become a chartered accountant. So the degree would have hugely have benefited me from the exemptions from Cap 1 when I went on to study that. It allowed me become, I suppose, qualified a year quicker, essentially, in that I would have had my exams passed a year quicker than others who wouldn't have had those exemptions coming from other business degrees within PwC. So just the chartered accountancy profession. As kind of Peter was saying, there is a huge demand for chartered accountants within Ireland itself and worldwide. So there's 25,000 members in Ireland and growing. 1,800 members here in Cork, and it tends to be a really good career opportunity in that it weathers well in seasonality in terms of when the economy is performing poorly and performing well, because a lot tends to be compliance work for markets and that as well. So there is an excellent employment and promotion prospects post your degree and post qualification. Just some of the PwC within Ireland. We have Dublin, Kilkenny, Waterford, Wexford, Cork and Limerick, so 7 offices nationally. And I suppose kind of focusing on the accounting degree itself, a lot of people on my level would have done international travel with the BSc Accounting degree. Within PwC, you were able to do a secondment for up to 6 to 9 months. A lot would have gone to the New York office, Philadelphia, and in Washington as well, and San Jose, where there's a big business hub. So I suppose that's another benefit of the UCC accounting degree. It travels well and is internationally recognized. So just kind of what we do as a PwC in a professional service firm. As professional advisors, we help our clients solve complex business problems and aim to enhance their ability to add value, manage risk, and improve performance. So we offer 3 lines of service: assurance, tax, and advisory. And ultimately, the accounting degree would provide a very good foothold for any of those departments when you were coming to the end of your degree. So I think kind of by the end of year 3 in the degree, definitely you will probably have a broader sense of what kind of path you wanted to go down in, which kind of when you're coming to year 4 where you have your 35 credits to choose from, it allows you that flexibility if you kind of wanted to focus on tax, audit, IT, marketing, or economics or law. So it does provide you with a really good grounding in those areas and opens up a world of opportunities. Just some of the clients I've managed to go on to work from, having worked in PwC, I've worked with multinationals within the pharma business in terms of Novartis, the tech and computer kind of software side of things then in VMware, and Dell EMC, and construction locally, being Uffling Construction. They're kind of a construction company, having built a lot of Ballincollig and are building the Ballinglana development in Glanmire currently. And then Musgrave, who supply Super Values and Centras, the wholesale company within Ireland, would be a very big employer in Cork and Dublin and Belfast itself. So I've kind of, from my degree, I've managed to go on to work with a range of clients, both multinationals and local Irish indigenous clients. So I found it gave me a broad range of experience and that. So just some reflections. It prepared me, the degree itself prepared me very well for a professional working environment, equipped me with a wide variety of skills in addition to technical abilities. And I think, I remember one subject, I think it was in second year, the kind of computer course, it provided me with very good Excel skills. So it kind of gave me a head start on other universities, I found, when we actually did our internship in the third year. I found some other universities weren't actually as strong in that department. So it offered a variety of career options and an excellent work placement program. As you can still see, I'm still employed in the same company that PwC arranged for me. So feel very privileged there. And it's very, very well respected degree on my CV going forward if I ever wanted to leave or think elsewhere. And I suppose just some other things there that I haven't on the slides. I suppose the degree itself is quite flexible in that I would have been heavily involved with UCC rugby at the time. So it allowed me, I suppose, achieve a very good degree, but also enjoy a small bit of social life, and where I was focused on the rugby as well at the time. So I thought it was quite flexible that way as well. And the tutorials were an important aspect of that, which I suppose is a very strong point of the accounting course itself.
My name's Damien, and I'm joining you today from KPMG. I would have been a former BSc Accounting student from 2012 to 2016. I would have been in Steve's class. As part of the placement Steve mentioned as well, I would have done my placement with KPMG for the 6 months. And from this, I would have received an offer from KPMG on a graduate role from that placement opportunity that the course provided in third year. But I'll talk a bit more about that in more detail shortly. It's still a great time to be entering accounting. There are still a significant number of jobs available, even in the current climate. I know a lot of my intake would have moved on over the last couple of months, and most of them didn't have any issues with picking up jobs. Accounting in itself is probably one of the most important courses you could take in business. As Peter mentioned in his introduction, it's really about understanding of the numbers behind the business. And over 40% of CEOs of the largest Fortune 100 companies in the world have a degree in accounting. It's also an absolutely fantastic stepping stone to become a chartered accountant. The number of exemptions alone that this course provides is absolutely brilliant, because it cut down the number of years myself and Steve would have had to do exams post qualification, or sorry, post graduating the course. So cut that down from 3 years to 2 years. And if you were to go on and do a master's, it actually reduces that to just 1 single year. If you're to go on to do tax exams, if anyone has an interest in tax, if you're to go on to do the master's in accounting, it reduces that down to two sessions of exams as well. Why I want to study accounting in UCC. So accounting for me was a subject I was always strong at, and I enjoyed doing at school, and always had a very strong interest in. Why UCC? So UCC has great prestige worldwide and is very, very highly regarded among the Big Four firms. As part of my intake in KPMG in the Cork office, there was 12 of us starting in 2016, and I think 10 of us had come directly from UCC, whether it be accounting, commerce, or finance. So it's 90% of graduates in the Big Four come directly from university. For Cork, for example, it's mainly UCC. For getting that qualified accountant qualification is definitely the quickest route. You could do other business courses, maybe in CIT or other colleges, but you probably wouldn't get the same level of exemptions you do from the BSc Accounting course. And all subjects and content that are taught as part of the course, they're all relevant when you go out into the workplace. There's just no theory there that's just being taught for the sake of being taught. Things being taught, whether it be from financial reporting to tax to audit to ethics, even as Peter mentioned in introduction, is very, very important in the business world. The benefits then of the course for myself. So I looked at the course originally when I was filling out the CEO, and I would have seen that as part of the course you do a 6-month work placement, and I thought that would be very beneficial just to get into the workplace, mainly just to see how an office worked, because I'd never worked in an office environment before. So as part of the BSc Accounting course, I thought that would be the best way to secure a graduate role on completion of the course. So I was lucky enough to get a position in the Cork office, and particularly for the placement, you do get exposure to accounting in real life. So you're able to apply what you've learned over the past number of years, whether it be looking at financial reporting standards or a P&L and balance sheet that you've probably been looking at since leaving Cert. You've probably never seen it in a real life company and how it works. So having that experience and all those years of learning, you're able to put to use. And again, as Steve and Peter mentioned, the selection of modules available is excellent. So if audit isn't for you, or tax, there's a significant number of options across finance, management, IT. It's not a pure accounting course. You do have the option to select additional modules if there's something else you would be interested in. How the course helped me so far in my career. So it's been the foundation of my career to date in KPMG. So I went to start in 2016, over about 4.5 years ago now, and still with KPMG. As part of Steve kind of touched on it before, the case and corporate finance course was an absolute brilliant module. I think from memory it's about 5 or 10 credits, but the module itself focuses on projects and teamwork. And you do, I think, two to three different projects, but with different teams, and you present them back to your class. And that really prepares you for the workplace, because especially in audit, you're working with a different team on each different client. And it's up to you then to report back to the manager, director, or partner on how that job went and findings from the audit. Experience of working as part of a team was a huge one. And particularly that course, along with placement, really prepares you for the business world once you graduate. So benefits of a career in accounting. So you get great exposure to a number of different industries and how they operate. So I was lucky enough to mainly work on pharma and food and beverage clients. And even if you weren't to go into accounting role, once you finished your training contract or such, you still have great experience and that level of understanding of how those businesses work, to be able to move into a slightly different role. Travel is definitely a big one, maybe not so much in the last number of months, but definitely the opportunities there going forward are absolutely endless. We've had a couple of seniors that have come over from South Africa into the Cork office, and we had 3 or 4 people from Malta in the last couple of months. The seniors that actually came over from South Africa actually went home for Christmas. They were able to work for 5 or 6 weeks from South Africa and work remotely. So wherever you are in the world, all you need is a laptop and you can actually work away. Working remotely from home 1 day a week. That flexibility is there even during the summer when COVID was in a good place. We were able to work from the office some days and work from home some days. And we had that flexibility. And it's not actually a boring job. Every day is different. You're working on a different client every couple of weeks, and every year you might come back to the same client, but you're always going to be doing a new section to audit or taking on a new role. So every week is challenging, and every week brings something different. And obviously the salary and benefits are absolutely fantastic once you get qualified.
My name is Aoife Murphy, and I'm a senior manager in the audit department in Deloitte Cork. I suppose my job involves visiting different clients and reviewing their accounts each year to ensure that they're correct. During like pre-COVID times, I would typically have a small team of trainees on site at a client's premises for a number of weeks at a time, and I would then review the team's work with the overall objective to see that the financial statements represent a true and fair view. Obviously, that's changed an awful lot since COVID came on the scene. Nowadays, we're all working from home. So we've actually all been working from home since March 2020. And like, I suppose initially we thought, how are we going to be able to get these audits done when a massive part of our job was being out on site with the client? But we've actually adapted very well, and we've kind of made the virtual audit a lot more efficient. We now have things like virtual audit rooms where the audit team will go into a kind of a Microsoft Teams room together. So it is the next best thing to being in a room actually face to face. But we've kind of, like, as things have adapted and as we've kind of went along with COVID, we've realized maybe there wasn't so much of a need to actually always be out on site with clients. And I think going forward, definitely in our office, a lot of people will work from home, even once COVID is a distant memory. So I suppose looking at the slide here, I've only got one slide, so it's going to be boring, but I'll talk around the different points. But just starting with my Leaving Cert, so I did my Leaving Cert in 2007. At the time, I only put UCC courses on my CAO form. The main reasons for this were because I live nearby, so in my head I was always going to go to UCC. Like there was no point going further afield to Dublin when I had a university like on my doorstep. Another reason was because I lived so near, I knew about the brilliant campus. Like there's so many facilities and so many courses on offer. Normally this seminar would take place on site in UCC, and you get an opportunity to have a walk around, but obviously we can't do that at the moment. But I would definitely encourage everyone, once the restrictions have been lifted, maybe to just take a walk around the campus and just see it for yourself, because it's really impressive. And another reason then why I just chose UCC was because it's a very prestigious university. It has a great reputation, and I knew it would look good in my CV, whatever degree I picked. So at the time of my Leaving Cert in 2007, it would have been the beginning of the recession. All I kept hearing from people was you're guaranteed a job after college if you go the accounting route. Like at the time, this was one of my main deciding factors, and it was definitely true, and it is still true today. And I suppose the key thing I would say today is there's no point doing a degree in college if you're not going to get a job at the end of it. Like if you're spending years at something, you want to get a job when you're finished. So taking that on board, I think the BSc Accounting degree is a brilliant one to sign up for. So once I had decided that I was definitely doing a degree related to accounting, I had to choose between accounting or commerce. I didn't really have any interest in the other business degrees, so it kind of came down to those two for me. Like I knew like the accounting degree is generally geared towards an accountant in practice, which is what I am, like where you complete your training contract after college for 3.5 years, and you also do your professional exams to become a chartered accountant. Like most people from the accounting degree end up working first in a Big Four firm, and as mentioned previously, the Big Four, they're Deloitte, KPMG, EY and PwC. With commerce then it's more of a general course, although a lot of the people who do commerce, they end up taking the same route and going into practice and doing the professional exams. And like most people would think, okay, you're better off doing a commerce degree because at least you don't have to decide right away like what you want to do when you're done college. But the main difference, as already touched on, is that you gain more exemptions from the professional exams if you do the accounting degree. So this means when you do a training contract in practice, you only need to do 2 years of exams rather than 3. And like what I would say is if you have any inclination to work in an accounting role after college, I would do the BSc Accounting degree because it does give you a massive head start, but you don't have to work an accounting role after doing the exam. You're not pigeonholed to that. It's just a more focused route if that is what you end up doing. So obviously I picked the BSc Accounting degree, and during my 3rd year then I did a 6-month work placement in the audit department of KPMG in Dublin. This was organised by Aileen, who's also on the call, and there was a big group from my class who went to work there. So like it was a lot less daunting when I knew a load of the people who were, and I wasn't the only new person starting in the company. Like work placement gives you a great idea of what the job would be like, and it also helps you decide if it's actually what you want to do after college. For me personally, it went really well. So at the time then I was offered a job for when my final year in college was complete. I knew at the time I wanted to stay in Cork, so I told them that I wasn't willing to go back to Dublin. So instead they offered me the position in KPMG Cork instead. So that meant then I went into my final year in college knowing that I already had a job secured for when I finished my degree. There are many others in my class in a similar position, and a lot of people were going to the same firms, so it just made things a lot easier. It really takes the pressure off as well in your final year when you're kind of concentrating more on your college exams, so you don't want to have your time taken up with like job interviews, and also just knowing that you'll be starting your new job straight after college, so there's no like big gap of being unemployed, and knowing that I was going to be working with others from my class in college also just made it so much easier. So the way accounting firms in practice work is that they take on a new intake of trainees each year straight out of college. So these people typically have very limited experience and they all have similar backgrounds. This makes it a great stepping stone from college into the working world. And you're not the only new person starting at the firms. There's a whole group of you. So it is just less daunting. And it's kind of like a process that's been going on for years in practice. So like we're well versed in having new first years coming in, like not having ever worked in a professional environment, and just kind of showing them the ropes. And there's different systems like buddy systems and stuff like that. So you're never on your own, and there's always somebody to ask questions if you have them. So after I had completed my final year then in UCC, I started my 3.5-year training contract at KPMG. So my professional exams went well and I was able to complete them within the 2 years, while other non-accounting graduates in my intake had to sit them over the 3 years. Like because of the great background knowledge from the accounting degree, like I felt the job and the exams came a lot easier to me than those who hadn't done the degree. The nature of the training contract is that you build up overtime hours during the year and then you use some of them for study leave for your professional exams. Because I was able to complete them within the 2 years because of the exemptions, that meant I had no exams in third year. So at the time I was able to take 6 weeks off in the summer and 1 month off at Christmas, and that was all fully paid because it was based on the time in lieu that I'd already built up. Whereas if I hadn't done accounting, I would have had to keep those weeks for study leave in my third year. So that was definitely one time when I really saw the benefit of doing the BSc Accounting degree. So then after I finished my training contract, I moved to a medium-sized practice in Cork called Grant Thornton. So I went there to help start up the audit department because they'd only recently moved to Cork. So I moved there as an assistant manager and then was eventually promoted to manager. And I worked there for 2.5 years and helped to grow the firm, and we won a number of new clients. However, like having trained in a Big Four, I really did miss the Big Four culture. So like working in a Big Four means you get great training, there's streamlined processes, and you've the advantages of working on larger clients. So then I decided that I wanted to return to Big Four and I joined Deloitte in 2017. So I moved there as manager and then was promoted to senior manager. At the moment, I'm working on a number of large clients, one of which happens to be UCC. So each year I come out and visit the audit team that will be on site in UCC just to review their work. And it makes a change to going to different companies, like coming out to UCC on campus, especially having went to UCC is lovely, and it kind of makes you feel like a student again when you're walking around the campus. So like even now I would be on interview panels for people looking for internships or work placement or graduate positions in Deloitte. Like automatically we're drawn to those who studied the BSc Accounting degree. Like we know this means that they'll have a good background knowledge for completing both their job and their professional exams. Previous BSc Accounting graduates in Deloitte have a great track record, generally getting their professional exams at the first attempt and doing a good job as well within the audit. So I suppose like overall my main tip would be that if you have any inclination that you would like to work in a career in accounting, then do the BSc Accounting degree. You'll get the best head start by doing this degree. However, as I said, like if you decide you don't want to work in an accounting practice after college, you can still work in other areas. So just because you studied accounting doesn't mean you have to go that route.
My name is Sarah Draper. I'm working in the EY Cork office. So I'm with Ernest & Young who are EY. I'm in my third year with 3.5-year graduate contracts. So I commenced that in September 2018 after coming out of 4 years doing the BSc Accounting degree 2014 to 2018. And I've just completed last August my final ACA qualification exams, so delighted to have them behind me. So just like Aoife said there, this year I'll have no exams, so hopefully get a bit of extra time off during the summer, which is always a little bonus. So why did I choose BSc Accounting and UCC? So I always had a keen interest in business and maths throughout secondary school. I completed a work experience with an accounting firm, just a small local one down in West Cork in 4th year in school. I really enjoyed that. So that was definitely a turning point for me in my career choices when I was filling out the CEO. So UCC is a well-recognised college and the career opportunities are brilliant. So that was definitely another key factor for me. The placement, without a doubt, again, was another one. And the vast range of modules that you're covering. So you're not just covering accounting, you're also covering modules like law, tax, economics, marketing. So it's not always just about the main numbers at the end of the day. And then the CAP 1, which are the first set of exams, so the exemption from them. So my work experience, I completed this with Ernst & Young, the Audit Assurance Department in Cork in January 2017 to June 2017. So I found it really good as part of my career. The ongoing training and the team building sessions that were given throughout the 6 months, I was given same responsibilities and treated like an assistant one. I got a vast range of exposure to clients across a number of industries. So I was on numerous different clients and got to see like a typical working day and all of the kind of work that people do within the firm. So just a few bits here about EY. So it's one of the big 4 and there's 150 countries EY operate in. So within the Republic of Ireland, then there's 5 different offices. So you can see Cork makes up a huge proportion of the numbers, and out of that 200, like it's continuously growing. And you also have the majority of these are inside in the audit department. So what makes EY different to some of the others is that 50% of the people working there are under the age of 30, and 70% of the technology market is covered by EY, and we'd have an awful lot of clients in the technology market. EY have a great graduate support system in place. So there's counsellor initiatives, there's bodies, part of the exams, there's dedicated faculty EY set up just to encourage people and to give that extra bit of support throughout your training contract and your graduate program. So within EY then there's 5 different service lines that people have the opportunity to join. So data analytics, assurance, consulting, tax, strategy and transactions. So for anyone who's on the call who's from Cork and is a home bird like myself, all of these are actually in the Cork office. So there's fantastic opportunity for you to go into one of the 5 service lines here. It doesn't always have to be about tax or assurance. If it's more IT and data analytics, there's a department in Cork too. So it's really good. Just on this slide then, just showing some of the different industries and clients that EY Cork cover and all of EY. So like there's some clients there, like we cover Apple, Eli Lilly, some of the bigger pharmaceutical companies. So there's a wide range. So you get to see multiple clients across the different industries each year. So what do I enjoy about EY? It's definitely the support systems in place across all the different levels. If you have a question and you go to a partner or a manager, they're always really open. I've made friends for life, both in the BSc Accounting program and in EY. And genuinely think if I was ever to leave EY, that these people will go with me for life, these friends that I've made. We're given honest feedback and coaching and training regularly. So I think that's really important for me personally. Just if there's any areas that I'm weak on, that the support is there to help me across all times of the year, and no matter what you're working on or what clients, like the people you approach may not also be on these clients, but they're always there to help. So, and then finally just on the exam support, so just that EY have a separate faculty there for the support, so they provide extra lectures and support materials for those who are completing their exams, and you get the paid study leave as well in order to sit those exams. So just one thing that I'd like to flag as well, or to mention on the call, is just that there's an EY summer internship program that take place each year. So I know on the slide here it's referencing the 2021, but for anyone on the call who would be interested just to see what the internships do look like, or what kind of work takes place for over these. So they're an 8 to 12 week program. They run in the summer. So I know like you're all just kind of thinking about your CEOs at the moment, but even for next year or the year after, these are something just to keep in the back of your minds, that if you were looking to see what's involved, that they're an excellent opportunity just to get a little insight before your third year placement potentially. So again, these are all available across the 5 service lines, and in Cork there'd be 5. So the 5 departments take on people each year for internships. The deadline this year is just the 2nd of February, so it's around the start of February each year. The application process is quite simple. So it's just an application online, and then on the interview day, it's 45 to 60 minutes roughly. So I'd really encourage anyone to take part in those over the coming years.
I'm a finance manager working in Johnson & Johnson. I'm sure many people have heard of Johnson & Johnson. It's an American multinational conglomerate, and you're probably aware of products like No More Tears shampoo, which has been rebranded last year to J&J Naturals or Aveeno or Neutrogena, other brands like that, which you can get in the shelves of pharmacies and supermarkets. But that's actually only about 20% of J&J, okay? And they're the 2 big pillars of the business are pharma. So Janssen and Cork is part of J&J Pharma, and you might have friends or family members working in Janssen. And then there's medical devices, which is the area where I work in. And I work out of Depew Synthase in Ringaskiddy in County Cork. So there's about 1,400 employees in Ringaskiddy with Depew Synthase. Across manufacturing, engineering, research and development, global supply chain, and then there's a finance function there. There's about 50 of us in the finance function in Ringaskiddy, right? With real global roles, right? Because we're really part of a global organization. So taking back to why I did BSc Accounting. So I think we were listening to Aoife a while back. I was actually in Aoife's class, so I did my leaving cert as well in 2007, and then did BSc Accounting with Aoife. So I suppose why I did BSc Accounting, I'm thinking back to when I was 16, 17, and I actually had 2 uncles who didn't really work in the, they were far from bean counters. They're actually very much leaders in the industries they're working in. I was a CEO of a business up in Limerick, and the other actually managed to bring a team of 40 to 50 people and build a function, move it from Switzerland to Ireland, and build a function in Cork. So I always knew that accounting was a good gateway to really understand the metrics of a business, because I was always very interested in business and what made businesses successful. And if you can understand the finance of the business, and if you can understand the accounts of the business, it's a good understanding how businesses become successful. I was also very attracted to the subjects of the course, right? Because I liked accounting and finance. And I studied accounting in the leaving cert. It's far from a prerequisite from the course, but I enjoyed studying the leaving cert, and I knew that would be a good barometer for picking the course. And lastly, picking UCC was a non-brainer. I went to school close by, and so I was very familiar with the campus. I knew the facilities were top-notch, and I think, as Aoife and other presenters are saying, if you get the chance to learn the campus, hopefully when restrictions lift or whatever the case may be, I'd definitely recommend it. It's a lovely place to walk around, and the facilities are top-notch, be it the Mardyke Sports Centre, and all the facilities down there. I got great use out of them when I was in college, and it's all included in the fees. Like, so there's so much there to make use of. I think quickly talking through my time in UCC and the reasons why I really enjoyed it, right? And first is the class size, right? So it's a relatively small class. It's 50 to 60 students in the year group, and that's really important, right? Because I think we really built a very kind of tight-knit community among ourselves, right? Everybody knew everybody. There There's a lot of sharing of knowledge. You know, there could be, you know, we might all be studying for an exam, and someone might find a good book in the library or a good resource online and sharing them on everyone, right? So it was very much everyone was helping everybody through the course. You know, so that's really important. Big focus on the basics, right? Like it all comes down to the basics. I think you know, to get the basics right with anything, then you're in a good place. And I think really BSc Accounting really drilled in the basics. And even right here on the desk, I have next to me just a sheet of paper of debits and credits, right? And just going through every time there's a challenge or a difficulty in work, I'm trying to go and what the hell is going on here. You know, I go back to the basics that I picked up in BSc Accounting, the debits and credits, and through them, right? And I think it really stands to me to this day. Teaching style is great. I think everyone mentioned focusing on the practical examples and experiences across multiple sectors. Also a big focus actually on information systems. I think when I did it there, there was 20-30 credits for information systems, right, and IT, and that's really good, right? You know, to kind of get a concept about information systems work, how ERP systems work in organizations. So really got a good framework for that too, and understanding for that in BSc Accounting. And even though it was, you know, 12-13 years ago, the fundamentals of makes up an ERP still hasn't changed too much. And then plenty group assignments, a very close-knit group, and the work placement too as well was a really good experience. I did it in third year. It was a 6-month placement in Heineken, Ireland. It was a really good place actually to do work placement because it was a good kind of good atmosphere there. Learned a lot, and it really was a good experience. You know, when they're coming out of third year, going into fourth year, trying to think of the next steps. I think having a placement under your belt really puts you in a strong position to make the right decisions career-wise. Very briefly, I spent 3 years with KPMG. Before I did that, I actually did a master's in UCC. I did a master's in accounting. I enjoyed it so much. And that was sponsored by KPMG. And then I went and did 3 years with KPMG, did my exams. So the exemptions from BSc Accounting and the masters really stood to me because you know, when I came into KPMG, I had plenty of exemptions under my belt. I had less exams to do, which meant I had a bit more time to get some exposure to you know, to some interesting clients and some interesting work. And that really stands to you as you go through your time in the Big Four. Once again, in some ways, look, KPMG was almost like an extension of college, right? Because an awful lot of classmates joined KPMG or the Big Four accountancy firms. I actually trained in Dublin, and there's a good chunk of us up in Dublin. And you know, there's a good gang of us there to kind of. It's a big transition when you start working. It's you know, it's a lot of change going on, but it makes it a lot easier when you have familiar faces around you and kind of a close-knit community in BSc Accounting. I think it really stood to me at the time. So I was in Dublin for about 5 years, but I'm from Cork and kind of always had it in my mind I wanted to come back. So I picked up a job with Johnson & Johnson in 2017, and I currently work as a finance manager in J&J, right? So so first and foremost, I suppose, is just sticking to the network of BSc Accounting. There's actually, you know, the day I started in J&J in 2017, another classmate also started the same day, right? Who was in college with me in BSc Accounting, and there was actually 2 other classmates from a year already working in the finance function, right? So, so that's about 10% of the entire finance function already, and it really helped, right? Because there's, as I said, starting a new job, and even picking up the phone to somebody the day before going into work the first day and kind of going, you know, do we wear a shirt or a tie, or what's the dress code? What time do people go home at? What time's lunch? You know, all the kind of really important questions on the first day of work. It really, you know, Cork's a small place, and it really stood to me that there was, you know, a strong community of people from college there, right, to kind of work with. So my job in J&J, right, it's obviously, right, so I just work for J&J, so it's not a client-facing role. It's a little bit different to what accountants in practice would do. But effectively, my job is in consolidation, right? So I consolidate the profit numbers, the sales and the profit numbers for our medical devices companies that J&J own all across the world, right? And it's one thing that I really enjoy about my job, right? So I work with teams in Ireland, Switzerland, various parts of the United States, both East Coast and West Coast, Puerto Rico, Belgium, Israel, Mexico, and I work with all those teams day in, day out on calls, whatever the case may be, to pull numbers together, to pull the numbers together, and then more importantly, when I have all the numbers, it's putting the story together, right? So it's putting the story around the numbers, right? Because in Johnson & Johnson, like it's a company, it's floated on the New York Stock Exchange. We regularly have to go to the market, and we regularly have to explain, you know, how we're doing compared to expectations, you know, how we're doing compared to last year, compared to budget. So part of my job is really it's building that story to try and explain, okay, you know, we've consolidated all the numbers where, you know, it's higher or lower than budget. Why is that, right? And it's drilled into the detail, and with data analytical tools to support that. As I said, there's a team across the world to support that, and it's really trying to build a story so that when we report the numbers to the United States, we're able to, you know, to kind of give a high-level summary, which some senior leaders want, but then also when they come back and go, actually, I want to specifically know what's going on in this particular country, we're able to turn that around. So it's a really interesting job, and involves reaching out to an awful lot of business stakeholders to be able to tell the story behind the numbers, and make sure that, you know, before J&J go to Wall Street, that they're in a position that they're able to explain the numbers, right? So it's a really interesting job. And I said the one thing I really enjoy about it is like this year, where, you know, it's been a tough year, and we've been working at home since March, but it's been really, really good to know that, you know, I suppose everyone's kind of been going through it. So, you know, you're talking to a team in Puerto Rico, and, you know, they're kind of going on a lot, and, you know, we're kind of going about it here, like, but at the same time, we're all kind of putting together, and you know, and delivering the numbers and the results, and you know, making the best we can of it. Look, like all the other, like, a fantastic place to work. They've really stepped up to the plate this year. Plenty of flexibility and support, plenty of opportunities to grow to as well, right? Because I said it's a real global role, even though it's based in Cork, and there's real global outreach. And yeah, look, there's the flexibility too. I was actually working from home 2 days a week before lockdown came in March, so it was pretty easy to it was pretty easy from my perspective. Anyway, I kind of had the office set up, but that flexibility is kind of there, and flexibility around working too as well. Of course, a lot of people, you know, have kids or other commitments, so there's plenty of flexibility and support there. So really, really lucky to have a job like that at this time. And I suppose, kind of touching a lot of these already, but you know, how I use my degree every day, and how I use BSc Accounting in my role in Johnson & Johnson. So firstly, look, I mentioned the solid foundation, the accounting fundamentals, and I can't go on about that enough. You know, no matter what career anybody goes down, once you have the basics right, once you have the basics nailed down, it's, you know, you can work out even the more complicated problems from that. The other big thing is the BSc Accounting network, and I think that's absolutely huge. I was on about this year kind of being quite turbulent, and we actually had I had 2 BSc Accounting alumni contact me during the year. They were working abroad, but with everything that was going on, they decided now it's the time to move back to Cork, and they reached out, really trying to suss the job situation. And luckily, I got one place, got a job from a guy in Johnson & Johnson, and another girl, she's got a job in FMC. So I suppose it bodes well in 2 fronts. Firstly, there's a strong BSc Accounting network. Cork's a small place, but, you know, it's much easier to pick up the phone to somebody who you know from college. And secondly, look, the job market in the accounting front has remained pretty resilient, even though it's been the most turbulent of years. You know, there's still plenty of activity, plenty of roles popping up, and a lot of the talk I'm on global conversations is, you know, accountants from Ireland are held in really, really high regard, both in Johnson & Johnson. I'm sure it's the same in other multinationals. So, you know, touch wood, you know, those opportunities are going to continue to come, because there's an awful lot of respect for the caliber of accountants that we're producing here in Ireland. And lastly, there is just mention too the professional skills, right? There's actually quite a lot of soft skills too in the BSc Accounting course, right? Be it presentation skills, or just quite often there's presentations, mocking up PowerPoints, mocking up Word documents, essays, and they're the sort of stuff you use day in, day out. So once again, really use them day to day. So that's just a very brief introduction of just what I'm currently doing now and how I'm using BSc Accounting, how it stands to me in the role I'm doing today. So thanks for your time.
My role is as the placement manager for the BSc Accounting. And lots of students or alumni have talked about it here, and it is 6 months of work experience in industry or in practice, but you're basically studied and you're going out into the workplace with what you've learned. And it's a great opportunity for you to take what you've learned in the theory base or in the classroom and to put it into practice. And it's accredited, which means you get credits for it. So again, it adds to the credits that you've taken in your degree, and it is integrated within the degree. And like that means that every module, everything that you're taught, everything that you're working towards, it kind of all builds up on top of your work placement. It's in your 3rd year, and some students, as some of the speakers previously have mentioned, do their placements locally because maybe that's something that they want to do. Some students go to Dublin, for example, to see the headquarters or to have that, bigger company experience. And then we do have some international placements as well. So it's up to you as a student, really, when you're applying for your work placement, to decide where you want to go and what you want to do. And I'll kind of get into the nitty-gritty of how people apply later on. Everybody here has talked about the benefits, so I don't really think I need to kind of dwell on this hugely, but networking people and meeting people that are in your year, a couple of years ahead of you, and maybe 5 or 10 years ahead of you, is really, really useful, because you can see your trajectory, you can see where your career path goes, you see what you need to do to get yourself there. And so that information is so important. And like, as people have mentioned here, accountancy isn't just one small, tiny little area. It's growing and it's getting bigger and bigger. And there are now different types of accountancy kind of jobs and areas that maybe previously weren't as big or weren't as relevant as what they are now. So you get a chance to kind of obviously focus on where you are now, but also kind of have a look around you and see, oh, Mary over there is doing a cool job. Maybe I should have a look and see what she's doing. There's more than one professional accountancy body or type of exam that you can do. There are 4. So, particularly if you go into a company such as Apple or Janssen, Johnson & Johnson, you'll have people sitting around you that are studying different types of accountancy exams. And you can decide which one is the best fit for you as well. And again, most of the people here have spoken about the fact that for companies and for our partners, and in particular for our Big 4 partners, placement is a really large feeder pool for their graduate hiring. So, most companies invest very heavily in work placement in terms of their time and their effort, so that they bring people back. And even though you may not go back into a company straight away after 4th year, chances are, because Ireland is small, you may bump into somebody that you met a couple of years ago, and you have an opportunity then to go into that company, a couple of years after your work placement. So the BSc Accounting has that wonderful embedded work placement, and it's part of year 3. But we don't just land you in the placement in work 3, as it were. So there is an introduction to work placement in 1st year, where we highlight, benefits of, obviously exam results are important, but everybody here has spoken about the soft skills development. So, working on projects, working on presentations, using UCC campus, because there's loads of clubs and societies in a better year that you can have fun with, but you can do extracurricular stuff that can add to you and your experience and your CV. I just want to call out the in terms of the academic staff and myself as a placement practitioner, like we work really hard together to give students the best experience that we have. And we're continually changing and adapting to the world as it is, because that's what is needed. Academic staff in particular, you know, have excellent teaching experience, excellent research experience, but most of them have actually worked in industry or in practice before. So you're getting to be taught by an academic who's actually worked in a Big Four or worked in industry. And that's huge experience that they give to, in particular to me, to the work placement program. We pay great attention to pre-placement preparation. So for me, preparing a student for work placement is really, really important, because that's what gives us that competitive edge over our competitors, over other programs, other universities or technological universities or ITs that also do work placement, because our students hit the ground running and the degree has excellent basics. Those debits and credits are very important, but so are the soft skills, so are the opportunities that students have to work in groups together, to present. So for example, the second year pre-placement module is a credited pre-placement module. So it's credit bearing. It's prepared and delivered over 2 semesters, because we acknowledge that for some people, you might take longer to, you know, work out what your strengths are, what maybe areas you need to develop in terms of your employability skills over the year. So we give people time to kind of work on that and reflect on that over the year. Small group work has been mentioned a good couple of times. It's really, really important that students get team or group work experience in college. And again, that's very much catered for in the pre-placement module. And it mimics the workplace, because you are put together with people that maybe you don't normally hang out with as part of the degree. And that's very much like, you know, what's going to happen when you go into the workplace. You're going to be working with a team you haven't worked with before. In third year, then we have the work placement year, I suppose. So the first semester is taught and then you go into work placement. And something that people earlier was the fact that, you know, students, as part of the work placement recruitment and selection process in UCC, you choose what companies you want to apply to. Within the Big Four, for example, you choose what locations you want your CVs to go to. You choose what service lines, such as audit or tax or advisory or transactions. So you choose what areas you want your CVs to go to. And again, it's a real live process where your CV is really the key to you unlocking your shortlist. You're interviewing competitively for the process. So it very much mimics the graduate recruitment process. And, you know, we believe that it really gives you a foot on that ladder for the following year and for the future, because you're always going to be developing those skills that are going to help you to maintain employability. And then in fourth year, again, we're very much on the scene in terms of support from myself and from colleagues in career services to help you with decision making, or again, going on to graduate or postgraduate options for students that may not be going straight into the workplace after fourth year. So we've a huge number of partner employers, we've got Big Four, and we have a whole range of other employers, both nationally, locally, and internationally. And, you know, again, just to say that we've built up these partners through years of successful collaboration with those partners, with students going in there and doing a really good job. And then that feeder pool, in some cases, going back into the companies afterwards. And just a couple of quotes from some of our students. I know the guys here have spoken really strongly about work placement as well. You know, I think most people here are talking about the fact that, you know, you might be thinking on it's going to be really scary going from college into the workplace, but, you know, everybody who's in a company has started, they've all remembered their first day. They've remembered that, you know, they've received support from somebody, and everybody that works with our placement programs knows what to expect in terms of knows the supports that students need, but also knows what you can do and what you're capable of. So everyone there is there to help. And most students are incredibly surprised at how much you've achieved and how much they've achieved at the end of the work placement. Where do our students go to after graduation? I just took a couple. People do, and you'll probably notice from the alumni, people go into very different areas and have different roles. So as student John graduated in 2016, and he got placement in a small firm, and he's in the Big Four now as a graduate. And similarly, Mark went into the Big Four in placement and is in Pepsi as a reporting analyst. Lorna, placement in Big Four and finishing a training contract in Big Four. Carl graduated 2017, did a placement in PwC and is in a training contract in the hotel industry. Mary graduated in 2015, placement in Big Four and is now a finance analyst in Dell. Paul graduated 2011, completed a placement in industry, trained in Big Four, and now is senior financial analyst in Amazon. So I suppose what I'm trying to kind of show here is that, yes, there is, you know, a track sometimes between placement and your final or your graduate job, you know, but it doesn't have to be just linear. People have come in and out of practice industry, back into practice, back into industry, and that your placement really is that space for you to see where you want to go, what you want to do. But it doesn't mean that you're pigeonholed into, you know, going into a similar job, firm, practice, or industry thereafter. Absolutely not. Every year, except for last year, which is why our data is 2018, all of the universities, including University College Cork, looks at the graduate outcomes for each of the degrees. So again, we didn't complete the data last year because of COVID-19, but there's a 5-year trend for the BSc Accounting in relation to where graduates have gone. And I suppose the big picture there is you can see that it's huge employability for BSc Accounting. After you graduate, 62% are in employment, 27% are in further training, which mostly is professional exam training. And then there's 11% or 1%, my glasses, is 11% not available for employment or study. And that in 2018 was a lot of people took a year out and went traveling before starting their professional qualifications. And I suppose, you know, people again go into a wide range of industries. So again, I mean, talking to career possibilities, really, really wide. People do go into small firms, people go into medium firms, people go into large firms, people go into the hotel industry, and people go into, let's say, other more statutory bodies as well. So, you know, career paths are very, very varied, and roles are very, very varied within those career paths. And so in summary, like the BSc Accounting is an excellent degree to start your professional career, and placement within that degree is a fantastic opportunity to see what you want to do. So I think it really is a space where, you know, a lot of people might come into the degree with very fixed ideas as to where they want to go. And it's part of my job and colleagues that work with me in second year in particular is to broaden out that net a bit and to show students that you can do so much with this degree. And, you know, just to always hold that and to bear that in mind, because you're going to have a long professional career and you're going to have a long professional life. So, you know, it's good to be able to just have a little bit of flexibility around your thought. As part of the placement, you're going to be working with people who do what you really want to do in the professional field that you want to work in. And most people have a fantastic opportunity to see people, you know, 1 year out, 2 years out, 10 years out, and you'll see exactly what you need to do and to be able to do to get to that place. There's lots of different accounting professional qualifications as well, and you'll be able to choose which one you think is right for you. And there is the added benefit for some students of getting a graduate role before you come back in fourth year. And again, even last year within COVID-19, you know, most of our students retained their jobs through COVID-19, through the first surge, even though, you know, students had to work remotely, and obviously some employers were not ready for it. But we had lovely situations where some employers, students had to finish up early, and employers pay them right through to the end of their placement. Their experience was so valuable to employers. And also, you know, so far, even this year, and I know we're in the third surge of COVID-19, on track to place 100% of the BSc Accounting students for work placement. So, you know, it's a great degree, a fantastic launching pad for your career.